welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here then hello and welcome. My name's Alexis and today I want to share with you 5 simple healthy food swaps. As I just mentioned, today I want to share with you 5 simple healthy food swaps. So about 6 years ago, I'd say now, I decided to give up processed foods and sugars, and at the time there weren't a lot of sugar-free recipes, but I've managed to find a couple of recipe books and I will link those in the description box below for you, and they really helped me to get started on my sugar-free journey. I was a bit apprehensive about starting this journey and I was a little bit afraid as well because I didn't know how it would go, but over the 6 years that I've been doing it, I've found lots of ways and lots of different methods to use to help me in my cooking without having to use processed foods and sugars. So I thought I'd share some of these with you today. I did write a blog post on this recently, which I will also link in the description box below for you. But yeah, I just wanted to share with you some of my tips for giving up processed foods and sugars. So I always find that people seem to think that giving up processed foods and sugars means giving up all sugars. So processed sugar is basically sugar that's been bleached, so it's the stuff you normally put in your tea or coffee, it's the stuff you put in cakes. That's the sort of sugar that you don't really want to have a lot of in your system, or none at all if you can help it, because it doesn't slide through the liver that well. But there are other sugars that are slightly better for you. Obviously they still are sugar, so you shouldn't have too much of them. But as human beings, since the beginning of time, we have always looked for sweet things on the earth. When we were cavemen and women, we would have gone and looked for sugar cane when we fancied something sweet, and we would have sucked on the end of a piece of sugar cane if we needed something sweet millions of years ago. So it's in our genetic code that we do actually like sweet stuff. Some people like it more than others, and that's okay. But there are certain sugars that are certainly better for your body, and I find that coconut sugar is one of the best sugars. This apparently, I don't know the science behind it, but this I have read does slide through the liver easier than ordinary refined sugar. It's straight from the coconut plant. I think it comes from the leaf of the coconut, and they just simply dry it out. So anything that's raw and unprocessed is much better for your body than processed sugars. And maple syrup is also a great replacement as well, and I normally use these two in cakes and biscuits. We have maple syrup on our pancakes. I sometimes use this in my savoury foods as well. If I'm making a curry, I will put a bit of maple syrup, or even local honey is really good as well. So yes, these are 2 sugars that I would recommend if you're thinking of cutting out refined sugar. And then I also discovered on my journey that I had a little bit of a gluten allergy. So when you give up processed foods and sugars, it can uncover some allergies that you may have. And I discovered that I had a gluten allergy, so I can't eat Western wheat, which is white flour and things like that. So instead of Western flour, which is white, refined flour and stuff, I now use things like chickpea flour. I also use brown rice flour, and I use oats as well. So I grind the oats up and I make those into biscuits, and they make really lovely biscuits. Chickpea flour is really great. I make chickpea wraps with these, and I have those with soup. Brown rice flour I use as a thickener for sauces and things. I have also been known to use quinoa flour as well. So we buy big bags of quinoa from the supermarket, and I will grind those up in my NutriBullet, and I make breads out of those as well. And instead of cocoa powder to make chocolate cake and things, I now use raw cacao powder, because again, raw ingredients are much better for you than processed ingredients. So cocoa powder will be processed I'm not sure how highly processed it is, but I know that some of the nutrients are stripped from cocoa powder. So raw cacao powder is much better for the body. And again, we buy this in large bags in Costco, are wholesalers in this country and in America, I think, as well. So yes, we buy it from there. And then dairy, I'm also not great on dairy, I've discovered in the past few years. So I now use alternative milk. So when I have porridge in the morning, I will often use oat milk or coconut milk. And then cheese, I've had to give up cheese as well, unfortunately. But I now make things like cashew nut cheese. So I'll soak cashew nuts overnight and I'll blend those in my NutriBullet, and I will use cashew nut cream cheese in recipes instead of cheese. Eggs. Now I'm okay on eggs, but for anybody out there who might have an allergy to eggs and likes cake, you can still have your cake and eat it. I generally tend to use, if I don't want to use an egg, I'll use tahini now, and tahini makes a great egg substitute, and also bananas make a really good egg substitute as well, especially for cakes. If you're making something savoury, or if you want something a bit lighter, then you can also use apple cider vinegar, which is really great for the body, and baking powder, and that makes the cake really light and fluffy, and it also makes it rise really nicely as well. And then to make your meals and your dinners a bit more interesting, I often use herbs and spices now. So I'm quite lucky. I have a bay leaf tree growing in the back garden. I have a big sage bush in the back garden. I also have rosemary as well. So I like to use those in my cooking. But I also like to use dried herbs. And dried herbs make everything taste really nice. And these are really great for the body as well. And spices. I love to use spices, especially in cakes and biscuits, but also in curries, in stews and things as well. They always make everything taste really nice. So those are my 5 simple, healthy food swaps. So that was my 5 simple healthy food swaps, and that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to give me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and please feel free to leave any comments below. And please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See you all soon. Bye.